16 hours, 48 minutes, 15 seconds.
Rescue 911.
Yes. My name's Blaine and my daughter, I just found her dead.
How old's your daughter?
13 months.
I loved her and Jessica.
That was a joke.
Welcome or welcome back, and thanks for being here. I'm Cassie, and this is A Wicked World. The story I have for you today is about a 13-month-old little girl who was killed in one of the most horrifying and brutal manners that I have ever heard of. And it seemingly came out of nowhere. This is the story of Amora Carson. Amora Bain Carson was born on November 12, 2007, to her mother, Jessica Carson, and her father, Arlene Mutina. According to family, she was a happy toddler who was full of life and she never cried. The little girl's father had only met her twice in her very short life, as he was in the military and stationed overseas. Amora's mother, Jessica, was a teen mom who was still in high school, and she began dating a new man named Blaine shortly after finding out that she was pregnant with Amora. Jessica met Blaine online, and the two quickly began dating. And on the night of Jessica's prom, they got engaged, and not long after, they moved in together. The couple seemed happy, and everyone would say that Blaine treated Amora like she was his own. Then, on the morning of December 2nd, 2008, police received a very panicked phone call from Blaine, saying that he'd found the 13-month-old dead.
48 minutes, 15 seconds.
Rescue 911.
Yes. My name's Blaine and my daughter, I just found her dead.
How old's your daughter?
13 months.
13 months old? Okay, let me connect you with the ambulance service, okay?
Ma'am, we're going to try CPR anyway, okay? Get her to the phone now.
51 minutes, 26 seconds.
Get her! Blaine, get her, hurry! Are you there?
Yes.
Y'all stalling is not helping her at all.
Go ahead.
If he's not going to do it, you put the phone down and go get that baby and get her to the phone.
When first responders arrived at the Rusk County, Texas home just 20 minutes later, they found a terrifying scene. Amora was lying unresponsive, near a hole in the floor in the bathroom which was being remodeled. There were bloodstains everywhere, and the toddler's body was stiff and rigid. She was completely battered, with at least 18 broken ribs, numerous abrasions, and 24 human bite marks, which covered her face and body. She had circular marks all over her too, which looked to have been caused by a Coke can. When an autopsy was later performed, it was discovered that Amora had also been brutally SA'd with a blunt object, and so violently in both orifices that they had formed into one. She also had a multitude of fractures on her skull that were formed together like a jigsaw puzzle. Amora's brain was torn, and so was her liver. She had spiral fractures in her arm and leg, along with broken ribs and lacerations to the underside of her tongue. Her death was ruled as a homicide, possibly caused by blunt force trauma and strangulation. However, the little girl had so many severe injuries that it wasn't able to be determined which one exactly had caused her death. The forensic examiner would say that he had never seen such horrific injuries on a child before. And oddly, little Amora had no prior injuries, like this was the first time she had ever been attacked. Inside the trailer where the little girl lived, police discovered bloodstains on the walls of one of the bedrooms. They also found bloodied bedding and baby clothes, a bloodstained diaper, and wipes. A tube of Astroglide and a pair of jeans with bloodstains were additionally located, and this blood was later determined to belong to Amora.
We were initially told that the crime had occurred in a
lack of a better term, a front bedroom just off the living room there in the house. And they had even gone so far as to use some fake blood, if you will. And, we're approaching Halloween time now. We're familiar with fake blood and all that, but they had...
So there was a staged crime scene with fake?
There was a staged crime scene. And we, for lack of a better term, fell for it. And that's where we concentrated our investigation and our efforts. As we went further into the investigation and brought these other people in, other investigators from these other agencies, they discovered the actual crime scene, which was in a back bedroom in another part of the house.
Police arrested 18-year-old Jessica Carson and 20-year-old Blaine and charged them with first-degree murder. They both denied knowing what had happened to Amora and instead suggested that she had died as a result of a car accident that she had been in the day before. When the pair was further pressed for answers, they claimed that the family dog had attacked the 13-month-old. This story changed yet again, though, and Blaine went so far as to provide officers with suspects' names and said that whoever had hurt his daughter should be hung. Then he told detectives that he and Jessica had walked up the road to speak to a man that he was going to do some work for named Clark. They had been gone for about an hour, and when they returned, they found Amora in the bathroom, unresponsive. She was located inside the hole in the floor, and according to Blaine, she had a ring of blood around her mouth and looked like she had been chewing on the insulation. But Jessica had a very different and rather unbelievable story to tell investigators. She claimed that her boyfriend had told her that Amora had been possessed by a demon, and while under its control, it made her hit herself in the head with a hammer. The mother insisted that Blaine loved her daughter and would never have hurt her. While Jessica was at first crying and acting very distraught, according to detectives, there was a very sudden shift in her demeanor. And she even began referring to Amora as that baby.
All right, tell me, just start off. Tell me the story about what happened this morning.
Okay,
What from the...
we decided to go out to the property. So we walked down to the property, and we didn't plan on being there that long, but we just got and start talking details about everything, about the trailer and everything. And
did Blaine resent you having the baby? Did that cause a problem in y'all's relationship?
No, he loved that little baby.
Why would he hurt her?
Huh?
Why would he hurt her?
He wouldn't.
Why would he lie to me then?
Huh?
Why would he lie to me? He told me you were an honor graduate in Longview High School. You're a very smart girl. Y'all were together this morning for about an hour or an hour and a half, and your stories do not match. One of you's lying to me, or both of you's lying. Right now's the time for you to tell me the truth about what. Let's get it out. That's the only way that this is ever going to be right, is for us to get it out. So right now, just tell me what happened.
I would never hurt that baby.
Tell me what happened.
I wouldn't either.
Tell me what happened.
He loves that little baby.
But just tell me the truth about what happened. Let's get it so you can get it off your chest. Because it's just going to eat you up if you don't. It's just going to eat you up.
No,
Tell me what happened.
I could tell you, but you wouldn't believe me.
I will. I will believe you.
No, you won't.
I will believe you. I promise.
If you do, none of the other cops won't. It started really freaking me out. And, now it's gotten into Amora now. And then I said, okay, well, can't we, have an exorcism or something to get rid of it? But Blaine came back outside, and I said, what did you run in the house saying Amora for? And he said, God told me she got that hammer and was hitting herself in the head, and those marks on her head was, I think, from that hammer where she was hitting herself, or that demon was hitting herself on the head.
Now, Jessica had always been known to be a loving mother who took good care of her daughter. But she had changed shortly after she met Blaine. The once neatly dressed and outgoing girl soon began to not care about her appearance, and she started to get more and more withdrawn. This was likely due to the fact that Blaine was becoming increasingly violent, manipulative, and controlling of her. He had become so controlling, in fact, that he would hack into Jessica's social media accounts, And he would make her go into work with him every day so he could keep an eye on her. By October of 2008, Jessica had cut off communication with pretty much every family member and friend. She also never left the house unless it was to go somewhere with him. Blaine's boss would say that he had some serious control issues and a very short fuse. At one point, he tried to talk to him about how controlling he was being and said that if it continued, Jessica would likely leave him. But Blaine's response was that with the baby, it didn't seem like he and Jessica would really have a future together anyways. Then there was a time when Jessica's friend Crystal was visiting them at the trailer, and she was inside with Amora, while Jessica and Blaine were outside arguing. Blaine had a gun and was threatening to harm himself, while Jessica was trying to calm him down. Soon, the friend heard a gunshot, and Jessica would explain that he had fired the gun into the floorboard of her car while she was trying to stop him from leaving. According to Blaine's mother, Shirley, he had stopped emotionally maturing at the age of 12. She would additionally later testify that Blaine had an on and off problem with methamphetamine, which had started again shortly after his father's death. Blaine also had a criminal record. In March of 2007, he had broken into a home and gone through the very personal belongings of an 11-year-old girl. Then he'd cut out pictures from an adult magazine and left messages on them for the girl, saying that he'd like to perform these acts on her. For this, he'd been charged with second-degree felony criminal solicitation of a minor. And in August of 2008, Blaine had been sentenced to 180 days in jail. Had he served his entire term, he would have been in there until February of 2009. But instead, he had only served 48 days of that. Upon his release, Blaine had been ordered to register as an offender, but he didn't. And he never notified the courts of his new address, so eventually they lost track of him. Now, after Blaine's dad died in September of 2008, he and Jessica bought a Ouija board, and they tried to communicate with both him and with Jessica's father, who had taken his own life when she was just 10. During this time, the board claimed that Jessica's mother was the one who had killed her father. This prompted her to cut off all communication with her mom. Around the same time, Blaine and Jessica began to believe that their apartment was haunted by evil spirits. So they moved out and moved into Blaine's mother's trailer located in Tatum. When they left their apartment, their landlord said that it was filthy and looked like the couple had purposely trashed it. The fridge had even been left open with rotting food inside. Additionally, a knife was discovered in the toilet tank, and a light bulb that had been used to smoke meth was found. Shortly after their move into his mother's trailer, Jessica began noticing that Blaine was acting different. His expressions and tone of voice were off, and she became convinced that he was possessed by a demon. When she then confronted him about this, he agreed, but blamed Jessica, saying that it was due to all her lies. Blaine also claimed that the demon had given him the power to speak to God, and the Ouija board gave him special powers too. Soon, Jessica no longer questioned her fiancé after he told her that God says there's things you don't need to know right now. But even when Blaine was experiencing these so-called possessed moments, Jessica insisted that he remained caring and loving with Amora. Then when Blaine's mother, who was also living in the home, went to stay with a relative for a few days, that all changed. On the morning of December 1st, 2008, Blaine woke up Jessica and told her that Amora was walking around. Therefore, she must be possessed by a demon, because according to him, she was too young to walk. He claimed that this had happened because Jessica had lied to him, and God was now angry, so he had possessed Amora with a demon. When Jessica asked him what they could do, Blaine told her they could perform an exorcism. Though at first they considered hiring a priest to perform the ritual, they were short on money, so Blaine decided he would perform the exorcism himself. He then took Amora into the back bedroom, while Jessica sat in the other room watching television. According to the mother, she could hear horrific cries coming from her daughter, but she just let it continue. After a little while, she finally decided to go check on things, and when she entered the room, Blaine told her that Amora had run out. Jessica discovered that the little girl was actually hiding under the bed, though, and she told Blaine where she was before he instructed her to get out of the room. Jessica would claim that when she saw her daughter, she looked fine. Amora's exorcism would continue on till the next morning. Blaine stopped the process at one point in order to make a quick trip to Walmart. Jessica went with him, leaving Amora home by herself. The couple also stopped at a pawn shop to pawn a chainsaw on the morning of December 2nd, then stopped at a gas station where Jessica purchased some cigarettes with the money they received, all while Amora was already dead. Jessica told detectives that her daughter had bitten Blaine so hard that it drew blood, and that the little girl was acting like Chucky or something out of Pet Sematary. In her words, the boy dies in the end and comes back all evil and stuff. Shockingly, Blaine had even taken pictures of Amora during the attack and sent them to Jessica. According to her, one of her daughter's eyes was stretched all downwards and warped. Jessica also admitted that she saw Amora's deformed head after she had heard some loud banging coming from the other room. When her daughter's screaming got too loud, she would just turn the television volume up. At one point, Jessica said, "I heard the demon cry out and scream out, and she would rather the child go to heaven now than spend a life with Satan having her soul." Investigators would find that on the morning of December 2nd, around 9:30 a.m., Blaine had called up his sister Teresa and told her that Amora was dead. However, he didn't call 911 until over an hour later. On December 13th, this same sister visited Blaine in jail, and he asked her to dispose of evidence that was under the trailer. She then contacted the lead detective on the case, and police were able to recover a plastic bag containing a pipe wrench from under the hole in the bathroom floor. Forensic testing later determined that there was both Astroglide and Amora's DNA on the tool. Now, even though Jessica had put all the blame on her fiancé for Amora's death, she was more involved than she made it seem, since at least one of the bite marks on the little girl's body matched up to her dental imprint. There was also the fact that police had found Amora's car seat base in the driveway. It had been removed from Jessica's car, like she knew that her daughter would never be riding in there again. The mother of one of Jessica's friends, named Lisa, would say that she had always been sweet, outgoing, outspoken, and funny. But when she and Blaine had gone to visit her in the fall of 2008, there had been a drastic change in Jessica's demeanor. She was weird and hollow, like empty. Lisa said looking into her eyes was like looking into a dark space. While Blaine was being held behind bars, a nurse at the jail named Shirley Broyles was called to his cell. She found him crying, and he asked to speak to detectives, then told Shirley, "I'm going to confess, I did it. Miss Shirley, the Blaine you know did not do this. My dad told me to be a man, and I've been reading my Bible. Please tell Jessica I love her." Blaine Milam and Jessica Carson would be tried separately, and at their trials, they claimed they did not intend to kill Amora. Both pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity, but both insanity defenses were rejected, and Blaine was convicted of murder and sentenced to death. Jessica was sentenced to life without parole. Since then, Blaine has had his execution date set twice, but has received a stay of execution each time. His supporters, because yes, disturbingly he has them, have argued that he should not be put to death because of his mental disabilities. Shortly after her death, 13-month-old Amora Carson was laid to rest at the Rosewood Park Cemetery in Longwood, Texas. Well, thank you for listening to Amora's story today. This has to be one of the most brutal attacks on a child that I've ever read about. What a complete psychopath, and really just abhorrent piece of shit Blaine is. And to think that her mother just sat back the entire time, turning the volume on the TV higher and higher as her baby girl was crying out for help. Sickening. Absolutely sickening. So if you like true crime and you want to hear it from me, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button below. And turn on your notifications too, so you'll know when I upload a new video, which is at least 3 times every single week. Thanks for watching A Wicked World today. Until next time, take care guys. Bye. Thank you to all the patrons of A Wicked World. Now, there's even more of A Wicked World on Patreon, so check it out on patreon.com/awickedworld, or use the Patreon app. You'll have access to exclusive videos each month and more. Any support truly helps to make sure the victims are never forgotten, and to highlight the shortcomings of society associated with each case. Do you have a suggestion for a story you'd like to see me cover? If so, send me an email to awickedworldtruecrime@gmail.com.